Hey, this is Andrew Brown, and we are looking at CloudFormation. So, before we talk about CloudFormation, we need to know what infrastructure as code is, also known as IAC. So, this is when you write a configuration script to automate creating, updating, or destroying cloud infrastructure. Doesn't necessarily have to be cloud infrastructure, but it is infrastructure generally. IAC, you can think of it as a blueprint of your infrastructure. IAC allows you to easily share, version, or inventory your cloud infrastructure. And AWS's solution, there are a few, but the one that is built into AWS and is the most low-level IAC tool is CloudFormation. And CloudFormation in particular is a declarative style IAC tool, meaning what you see is what you get. It's a very explicit tool. So you have to write more code, but you're not going to get any side effects. And personally, I love CloudFormation. And even though there are tools like CDK and Terraform, Pulumi, and things like that, I just don't see the extra layers worth it, and I just write everything in CloudFormation. So again, depends on the use case, but I really like it. CloudFormation has this concept of stacks, which are deployed using CFN templates. So you'll see the word stack often as we do deployments. And AWS manages the state of your resources. So if you are used to using Terraform, you know that there's a state file, and that is the thing that holds the configuration or state of your stuff, and you can't lose it. There's no issue with CloudFormation here because they manage the state on their servers, and you never have access to that state file, so you don't even have to think about it. But what would be a use case for CloudFormation? Well, a great example would be, imagine you wanted to create a Minecraft server subscription business where people want to say, I want this size of server and I wanted to have these particular things installed on it. Well, you could utilize CloudFormation to create a template. And the idea is that if somebody went to your website, they would click a button, it would trigger an API call to launch that template and set up that infrastructure. And so that is one of many use cases that you could use CloudFormation for. But CloudFormation comes in two formats. We have JSON, which is the original format, and it's still around and has a good use case, which is when you have programs that can programmatically generate out CloudFormation, because JSON is much easier for most SDKs, programming languages to read. Then there's the YAML format, which is the more human readable and maintainable way to work with CFM when you're talking about humans. So this is what it would look like with JSON, and this would be its YAML equivalent. And if you're not familiar with YAML, YAML is JSON compliant, so it's very easy to go back and forth between the two. But yeah, YAML is what you'll see me utilizing quite a bit, but we will write some in JSON just to get the feel for it. Let's take a look at the anatomy of a template. So here is a template, and it's made up of these sections. The first is metadata. This adds additional information about the template. So that would be things like the description or the AWS template version. This can be a little bit misleading because there is other things called metadata in CloudFormation, which weren't there before but are now there. So there is metadata that can be attached specifically to resources, but we'll cover that when we get to that section. Just understand when I'm saying metadata here, I just mean like description, the version, things like that, and there will be another thing called metadata. Then, of course, we have our description. So this is a description of what the template is supposed to do. We have parameters. These are the values to pass to your template at runtime. You have mappings. This is a lookup table. It maps keys to values so you can change your values to something else. I don't really like using mappings, but it is something that you can utilize. We have conditions where resources are created or properties are assigned. We have transforms. This applies macros, which allows you to modify or change what you can do in the template, basically like extending or creating shorthand types of templates. We'll look at that when we see SAM templates, which is a very popular macro. Then we have our resources, which is the main thing you want to create here. So it's anything that's an AWS resource that would trigger an API action. Then you have your outputs, which allows you to assign values. And I want to point out that CloudFormation templates require you to have at least one resource. So if you don't have any resources in there, the template's not going to work. But there you go.